So, Matt, when we broke, we were making the point about this story by Jane Mayer in the New Yorker about Fox News, and and the reporting, largely about Fox News. There was a piece of reporting this week by Gabriel Sherman saying that Rupert Murdoch had asked Donald Trump to get the U.S. spy apparatus to basically spy on or assess whether Rupert Murdoch's ex-wife is a Chinese spy. It's a bizarre request. Rupert Murdoch is not in the business of making requests for things he doesn't think he's going to get in this instance, but there's no reporting to the effect that this actually went through. But I want to talk about why, despite the fact that Fox News has always been somewhat unhinged, has always been carrying water in many respects for the Republican Party, why it is different now. Like, there's a structural difference here. And despite the exit of both the company and the planet of Roger Ailes, this relationship with Trump and Fox News seems even like more I want to say stronger, but it's almost like it's intertwined. It's almost like they're fused in many respects.
Yeah, I think one way to look at it is that Donald Trump has basically replaced Roger Ailes in this structure. The division at Fox News, going back to the very beginning, was between Ailes and Murdoch. Ailes is the Politico, someone who came up through working for Richard Nixon, working for Reagan and Bush, and is a deeply committed Republican political type. Rupert Murdoch is a conservative in some ways, but he's also mainly a businessman. He's in this for the money. He sees where this marketplace is and ways in which he can take advantage of it, and he enjoys garnering power through his media outlets, using them to get politicians to take positions that end up benefiting him down the line. With Ailes gone, the political side of this arrangement really moved almost entirely towards Trump himself. That's because Trump is probably more obsessed with Fox News than anyone else I can think of. He has been watching the channel hours a day for years and years. He got his political rise by going on Fox and Friends one morning a week for several years and just taking their questions about whatever the conservative movement was interested in and learning about what that was and how he could manipulate it. When he started running for president, he was appearing on Fox basically constantly, calling in, appearing on air, what have you. And when he became president, he basically merged his operation with Fox's. And so you have a bunch of former Fox people in cabinet roles, in White House roles throughout his administration. I think about a dozen of them now. You have former Trump employees going over to Fox itself. And you have the whole operation being moved to buttress his message, basically top to bottom, night in and night out. And so, you have the situation where he is watching this programming on a constant basis. They're giving him ideas. He's tweeting out what he sees, giving interviews to the network that both give him a basically free rein to talk about whatever he wants because they don't really bother to challenge him, and simultaneously increase the power of the network because no one else can get as much time with him as Fox can. It's a really insidious arrangement, basically a total merger between the White House and this conservative propaganda outlet. And
it really, I think, has created what I think is a fairly new dynamic in American politics, and that being the idea that, it used to be Fox was dangerous because it would essentially launder stuff from the fever swamps, and it would end up on, it would go from, Drudge to Fox to ABC News. And now it's as if the game is not to infect a narrative within the mainstream media. It is as if to create a secondary sort of parallel narrative to the narrative that is, I don't want to say conventional wisdom because I think it's a little bit of a loaded term, but the narrative that most people subscribe to, there's this counter narrative that can sustain itself, and it seems, at least to some extent, sustain Donald Trump.
And a key facet of this, I think, is that traditionally, as you say, Fox would pull these stories from the fever swamp and push them out, try to get them into the mainstream media. What happens now is that whole system is short-circuited because what will happen instead is Fox will do the reports and then Trump will start tweeting about them. And all of a sudden, by virtue of the fact that the president's words are treated as intrinsically newsworthy, you have the rest of the media jumping on his tweets and trying to figure out what he's talking about. And when he's talking about, it tends to be some sort of conspiracy theory from Fox News. And that's how you end up with, in the weeks leading up to the midterm elections, the number one story being covered by virtually every news outlet being a caravan of migrants 1,000 miles away from the U.S. border. That happened because Fox News was reporting on it constantly. Fox News started telling Donald Trump that he should use the caravan as a campaign issue. And then he started doing it. He started talking about it on Twitter. He started talking about it, with press availabilities. And before you knew it, that was what everyone was covering because it was what the president was talking about.
All right. So we have about 2 minutes left here. I want to turn our attention to what I found fascinating about Trump using the government apparatus to essentially benefit Fox News, and that is like a two-step or a three-step process. One is sign off on the Fox's sale of their assets to Disney, which was certainly you could make an antitrust argument about, but then simultaneously keeping Sinclair Media from buying Tribune, which I happen to agree with. I thought there was a big waiver there, but they certainly looked like they were trying to do that. And the AT&T Time Warner merger, which I am also against, but I don't think that Donald Trump and I share the same reasoning behind this. It was really more of a function of what was going to benefit Fox. I mean, what can you say about that?
Well, this is the tricky thing about all of these merger stories, right? Because on some level, we might think that the results are good, that they are reasonable things to have happen. But the reason that the president is pursuing them isn't because he has some sort of real sense of American antitrust law or a desire to move the country in a particular direction on that. It's because he really hates particular outlets and really likes other particular outlets, and that seems to be what's focusing his attention. I mean, he cares about the AT&T merger because it involves CNN, which he hates and calls Fox News fake news on a more or less constant basis. He's much more upbeat with the merger that helps the Murdoch family. He is against the merger that would have given more power to a potential Fox rival. And so that's really the problem here, that at the end of the day, the president's reasons for doing the things that he's doing are nakedly corrupt.
Right. We are corrupting the system in which these things are adjudicated, and the point of antitrust is certainly not to give the chief executive monopoly power based upon what helps his one particular friend. Matt Gertz, thanks for your time today. Folks should definitely check out this Jane Mayer article. It is long, but it is well worth the read. Thanks again.